So this is the third video for your resume, and we ended up with the five types of resume. So now we will move on with the curriculum or the curriculum vitae versus a resume. Now, other people would say that you have to pass your CV, while others would say you have to pass your resume. Now, most people would ask, what is the difference between the two? What is the difference between your curriculum vitae and your resume? Now, we have here there because there are also countries who actually wanted a CV, not a resume. So as for the difference, resumes are brief, no more than 2 pages long. So that is a resume. So we have to have a minimum of 2 pages long for your resume. Basically, it only aims to outline your qualifications. So that's why we discussed the definition of resume. This is just a summary of your qualifications, like your experience, your educational background, and your skills. Just a highlight or summary. Now, that is a resume. However, CV is actually different because CV is much more detailed compared to resume, and it is typically more than 2 pages long. So meaning to say, if you have your what you call this one, if you think that the resume could only be one page alone, now again, if you have a lot already of your work history, you can have 2 pages long for your resume. However, if it's more than that, because you're too detailed about your work or the qualifications that you have, you really put it to detailed, that is a CV or a curriculum vitae, not a resume, because a resume is only 2 pages long, then your curriculum vitae is more than that, and it's much more detailed compared to your resume. So this is because there is encapsulated discussion or synopsis of the different points that you mentioned. So as what I have mentioned as well, there is a discussion of a certain part in your CV. It is not enough to cite that you are a graduate or let's say of an accounting degree, for example. In a CV, you will need to say a line or two about what you have learned, what have you acquired and experienced in that degree that make you rather suitable for the job you're applying for. So that's why others they include what are the things that they have learned or acquired in the way back their college years or way back their bachelor's degree. Then others, they really have a detailed information about their work experience as well. Let's say, for example, they were an accountant before in a certain company, then they have there below the responsibilities or their job. So that is actually more detailed, and that is a CV. It's not a resume but a CV. So in the Philippines, of course, most professions only require resumes. That's why here in the Philippines, we often use resume as part of our requirement, if ever as part of our requirement is especially if we're going to look for a job. So however, there are also few companies who require CV. In other countries, we have here the Middle East, Japan, South Korea, and the UK and the US. A CV is required for positions in the field of education, scientific research, applications for awards, and affiliation, among others. So that's the difference of CV and resume. So it's actually just simple. A resume is a brief discussion about the highlights about yourself, your educational attainment, your skills, your if you have your work history. However, if you want to be more detailed, that is a CV. If you want to give further information about your bachelor's degree, if you want to give more detail about your work history before or your work experience, your job description or the nature of your work, then that is a CV. Okay, so after this, we're down with the parts of your resume. So I hope that this video has helped you working on with the kind of resume that you wanted. Okay, so I'll be having another video for the parts of resume. Thank you and bye bye. Hello guys, I'm back. So next would be about the parts of the resume, but before that, I'll be giving you the common, oh my god, it's not really that clear, the common rules for making your resume. Okay, so the first one, always think about this. Number one, your bond paper should be in letter form or 8 by 8 8.5 or 8.5 by 11. That will be for the resume. Okay. However, I think now there are some who actually use lombard paper, but again, this is in my reference, so you have to use short bond paper. That's 8.5 by 11, or letter. That's the paper that we're going to use. Number two, that's 1.5 inches or 1.5 inches formal photo that will be paste, or yeah, that will be paste in your um that yeah that would be put rather in your resume. So this one, because I had before an experience wherein I asked my student as well to make a resume and to put their recent picture. Now again, this one, just a tip: if you are going to pass a resume in a certain company, make sure that your photo is recent, and at the same time it's formal. Do not pass, let's say, usually for we use colored blouse, or anything that has color, so that that would actually symbolize what we call formality in your picture. You have to use formal picture because of course you're going to look for a job, so it should be formal. Next is 1 inch. The margin at all sides should be 1 inch. So from the top, bottom, left, and right, 1 inch for the margin. And use font size 12. Do not use font size 20 for all. However, in my case, in the heading part, I usually use 14 to 16 for my name, then the rest would be 12. That is just for me, okay? But in your case, if you want, you can use font size 12. But in my case, I just simply use font size 16, 14 to 16, only in the name part, because I just wanted to emphasize my name. That's all. But in your case, you may also do that. Next, formal font style. Do not use let's say chiller. You do not use chiller. Do not use monotype cursiva or anything, or Lucida console. You have to use formal font style. So the formal font style would be Arial, Century Gothic, Times New Roman, Bookman Old Style, and others, as long as it's readable, or yeah, and it's formal. So you can also use Tahoma or Calibre, because anyway, that's also formal. Next is black font. Do not use pink, do not use yellow, do not use blue of ink. Use black ink. Next, what else? Yeah, the section headings should be conspicuous, meaning to say it's really visible. That's why in my case, I emphasize my name. I use the font size 14 or 16 instead of using 12. Next is maximum of 2 pages. So we already discussed that for the resume, you have there the maximum page, 2 pages, okay? So I think, so these are the common rules in your resume. So let's start with the parts of your resume. First is the heading and contact information. So that's why it's called heading, because it's found at the top, meaning at the uppermost part of your bond paper. Now the heading is your name. You have there your name, full name of course. Let's say for example, in my case, Cindy Vern G. Pareño, that's full name. I usually do caps lock or capital letters for my name. Then I have it in bold. So the heading is your name, therefore it should be conspicuous. This is the most conspicuous part of your resume. Typically, the font size for the body of the resume is 12. So if so, the banner must be font um, 14 to 24. So that's why I mentioned a while ago, in my case, I use 14 to 16. So you can also, because anyway, it's your resume. It's actually better if your readers, or let's say your prospective employer, would definitely see your name there. So that's for the font size. And the heading must be readable even at 6 feet away. So that's why do not use font size like 6, 4, 10, 9. Do not use that. Use the font size that is visible. So that's why we use 12 for the body part. Then in my case, for the banner or for the heading, it's 14 to 16. Now, what consists of your heading? Now, the arrangement of sequencing of your section will depend on the type of resume that you're making. So that's why you have first to know what kind of resume, if it's functional or reverse chronological, so, or combination resume. But in your case, you have to use functional resume. But if you do have work experience and if you want to emphasize that because you have the solid background of working or of your work, you can use chronological resume, reverse chronological. However, if it's not, it's better to be safe, so use functional resume. So if ever that you're going to use your functional resume, so it will emphasize only on your educational background. Now going back, in you can capitalize all the words in your headings. You may bold, that's why in my case I use bold, and underline the headings, or you may use differently colored font. For the last, make sure your resume is not multicolored. Now, in my case, I really use black. I don't anymore use blue for emphasis of my name. I just simply use all black so that it will be more formal. However, in the reference, it's okay to have um if it's actually okay to have a different color only for the banner part or for the name, like blue. However, it's best to use only one color. That's the most preferred color. So we have here blue or black. So but in my case I use black all. So that's for the heading. Next, for the heading part, you have there your contact information. So you have there your name, let's say Cindy G. Pareno, then followed by the address. So you put there your address. After your address, next line would be your contact number, then your email address. So again, in your heading and contact information, you have there the four, you have your full name, you have your address, you have your phone number or your contact number, and as well as your email. And it's just a tip, if you want to include your email, make sure that your email is formal. Do not use Black Swan 2015 or Black Swan 2020. Do not use that. Use you. It should be your name should be visible there. Let's say, for example, in my case, I use cindyvernp@gmail.com or cindyvernp0202 at gmail.com. That's more formal compared to Black Swan or Pink Swan. Okay? So I'll be having another video for the next one, so I'll keep you posted. So bye guys.